As federal government agencies crack down on immigration across the country, more than 1,000 troops will make the Lone Star State their base. But the wave of military support dredges up a big question in the minds of some Texans.
And we'll be damp at times this week, including some showers out there now, but we'll track a line of downpours and storms that may bring some trouble with it in First Warning Weather.
President Donald Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration is ramping up across the nation, including right here in Texas. Thanks for joining us. I'm Will Dupree, and tonight for Daniel Marine.
And I'm Jennifer Sanders. Deportation operations are being conducted as far away as Chicago and as close to home as Austin. NBC's Shaquille Brewster starts our coverage tonight.
Hi there. Well, here in Chicago and cities across the country, those deportation operations are well underway. And the Trump administration is emphasizing that it's not just ICE participating in this, but it's a whole of government approach. We know the DEA, the FBI, a coalition of federal agencies are involved in these operations that you're seeing across the country. And ICE is calling these targeted enforcement operations, using that language very specifically to signal that they are working through a list of criminals, people who have been convicted of crimes, and that these are not indiscriminate searches of schools or of workplaces across the country, but that they're trying to find specific individuals. However, in an interview with NBC News just yesterday, the border czar acknowledged that there are these so-called collateral arrests. So if undocumented or unauthorized immigrants are found with those who they are targeting, that they will also round those individuals up and process them for deportation. And that's why you're hearing in cities across the country, including here in Chicago, there are these Know Your Rights workshops, city leaders emphasizing that it's important for members of the community to know what's required of them and what's not required of them when interacting with federal agents. I attended one yesterday, and one thing that was picked up on was that there is a sense of fear and also speculation for these increased enforcements that you're seeing, again, not just here in Chicago, but across the country. But the Trump administration acknowledging that this is something that folks can expect to continue as President Trump continues his push for these mass deportations. For now, back to you.
Well, more Texas soldiers are making their way to our southern border. Governor Greg Abbott directed the Texas Military Department to deploy 400 additional soldiers and other resources to assist federal partners.
This latest action by the governor comes less than a week after he asked the federal government to reimburse the state billions of dollars for the cost of securing the border. KXAN's Dylan McKim looks at the state's border response.
The southwestern border is becoming a landing spot for U.S. soldiers. Last week, the Pentagon said it's sending 1,500 troops to help secure the border, adding to the 2,500 active duty personnel already in the region. Governor Greg Abbott is praising the action by the federal government and is sending more manpower himself to South Texas. 400 troops from Fort Worth and Houston, members of the state's tactical border force, are being deployed. It's nothing new in the Lone Star State. Over the past 4 years, the governor said Texas spent almost $3 billion on the border wall and buoys and $6 billion on deploying more than 10,000 Texas National Guard soldiers and state troopers. In a letter to federal lawmakers, the governor said it cost $11 billion to protect the state, and he wants to be reimbursed in full. But his latest action has Texas Senator Sarah Eckhart asking a question.
Last week he said, I want reimbursement for the $11 billion because we were doing the Fed's job. And this week he's saying, we want to keep doing the Fed's job. So which is it?
She serves in the Senate Committee on Border Security. The Senate's budget proposal would allocate another $6 billion for securing the border over the next 2 years. She says this session, she's asking for an audit on how that money is being spent.
It's not enough to look good. You have to actually do good.
I asked the governor's office if the state should be spending more resources while still waiting to be reimbursed. We were told to refer to his statement released on Monday, where he said, quote, "Finally, we have a federal government working to end this crisis. I thank President Donald Trump for his decisive leadership on the southern border and look forward to working with him and his administration to secure the border and make America safe again." In Austin, I'm Dylan McKim.
The Texas Tactical Border Force was launched in 2023 to respond to hotspots on the border where people are trying to cross illegally. We also reached out to the Texas Military Department to ask how many National Guardsmen and women are currently deployed at the border. We have not heard anything back yet.
Well, going in depth right now, ICE says it arrested more than 900 people across the nation just yesterday. That number follows the arrest of roughly 1,300 people by Thursday. That's according to Border Czar Tom Homan. The Drug Enforcement Agency confirmed ICE conducted a series of enhanced targeted operations here in Austin yesterday. Government sources say ICE also conducted those operations in San Antonio, Miami, Los Angeles, and Detroit. When asked about the concerns about those in the country legally getting detained, here's what Homan had to say.
The men and women of ICE are professionals. We do this for a living. And I can tell you, I ran ICE for years. I was the first director ICE came up through the ranks. Again, these men and women are professional, highest attention standards in the industry. We take care of these people. But we're going to enforce the law, and we're not going to apologize for doing it.
And the number of arrests that agents made in the first 3 days of Trump's presidency represents a little more than 1% of the arrests ICE made throughout all of 2024. The agency is averaging now at around 400 per day, which is a number that will likely grow.
The border is likely one of the topics that Governor Greg Abbott will discuss during the 2025 State of the State address on Sunday. According to the governor's office, he will speak on his priorities for the new legislative session, as well as his goals for the state's future. You can catch his speech right here on KXAN on Sunday evening at 5. Next up, NBC Nightly News digs into the crackdown on illegal immigration. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez rode along with ICE during its operations in the Chicago suburbs and got a first-hand look at an arrest as seen here. This man, 25-year-old Christopher Lara from Mexico, had been convicted of DUI, weapon possession, home invasion, battery, and other charges. Much more ahead on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Okay, Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon joining us now, so we'll have to keep our umbrellas handy this week.
Umbrellas, jackets, old newspapers, whatever works.
Anything you can use.
To keep you dry, yes, because every day's got rainfall chances here through Thursday morning, including some rain out there now. Let's take you out to our Austonian weather camera, which shows you the cloudy skies across Central Texas, and there's some very light rain out there as well. You could see it on clouds and radar, especially south of Austin, a cluster of very light showers moving into Hays and Caldwell County, seeing a little bit of it in Bastrop and a few sprinkles in Travis County too. A little bit more of a widespread round of rain just east of San Antonio, but it's still fairly light. However, I do think it'll be our wettest weather of the second half of the day. Many of you may have felt some drops this morning. Most of us in the mid to low 50s. Our coolest spots in the upper 40s. What this means is it's plain chilly rain, nothing wintry about this here tonight. So rain chances around 20%, maybe slightly higher in the early evening, but most of the time here tonight will be more dry than wet, just some light rounds of wet weather here and there. So we'll track the cool and damp weather tonight and again for tomorrow before things turn warm and stormy Wednesday into Thursday. Not just stormy, but potentially strong or severe weather and even a localized flash flooding threat. So we'll take you through the timing of our best chance of a soaking rain this year coming up in First Warning Weather.
Police say they need your help finding a man who robbed a North Austin convenience store at gunpoint. Here's a look at the man accused of robbing the Rutland Market in North Austin. Police say he went into the store a little after 11 last Monday and pulled out a black handgun, demanding that the worker open up the cash register. The man took money and ran away. Police did share a vague description, saying he's believed to be between 18 and 25 years old. He's about 6 feet tall and was last seen wearing a black mask, a hoodie, and a red and white checkered backpack. If you know who this might be, please contact the Austin Police Department's robbery unit.
On Friday, Williamson County will break ground on an expansion to its Juvenile Justice Center. Williamson County says the expansion will include nearly 50 new beds, a new courtroom focused on family services, learning and exercise space, and a bigger intake and release area. Williamson County expects that expansion will provide space for the quickly growing area for the next few decades.
Flu cases are spiking across the nation, and Texas is reporting a higher rate than the national trend. That's according to the Texas Department of State Health Services and the CDC. New reporting shows between January 12th and 18th, Texas reported a 34% positivity rate for the flu. Nationally, the CDC reported a 25% positivity rate during that same time period. As the flu surges, Terrytown Pharmacy did tell us just last week its pharmacists are seeing a jump in demand for Tamiflu and other medications.
Today marks 80 years since the liberation of the Auschwitz death camps, a place where more than 1 million prisoners, mostly Jewish people, were murdered.
As NBC's Jay Gray reports now, today survivors return to Auschwitz for a special service to share their stories and honor those who lost.
80 years after walking from this death camp. The steps don't come as easily anymore for survivors. Their struggle, the years etched in their faces, the memories, the horrors locked in their minds.
I stood and watched helplessly as little girls from the nearby barrack were marched away crying and shivering to the gas chamber. Is my barrack next? I silently wondered. I thought that we all have to die.
More than 1 million were murdered inside this camp.
So this is kind of a sacred ground, the biggest burial of Jews in the world.
This is Michael Bornstein. As a 4-year-old prisoner of Auschwitz, 8 decades later, he's come back, not by force, but by choice.
It's also important for me to show the world, the bigotry and the hatred that went on in Auschwitz.
It's a mission shared by preservationists and scientists inside this high-tech lab. A restricted area of the camp where cameras are rarely allowed. Thousands of items cataloged, stored in climate-controlled rooms. Still, with all of the work and the words of the survivors, the story of Auschwitz will never really be complete.
Because there is this darkness that will never be told, because most of the people who were deported to Auschwitz did not survive this place. They were murdered. Most of them never became prisoners of the concentration camp. They were murdered immediately after arrival in gas chambers.
This place, part memorial, part museum, dedicated to their memory. Jay Gray, NBC News, Auschwitz.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon.
I know we've been talking a lot lately about wintry weather, but we haven't had a lot of actual moisture that's come with the wintry weather. Even last week's snow produced very little liquid when you melted it down. But that changes here this week. We've got an upper level low spinning over Southern California right now, and out ahead of the low, southwest to northeast flow is bringing us already the clouds and some spotty sprinkles and showers. And as this low slowly inches its way east and northeastward, our rain coverage is only going to go up. So there's Tuesday, then we get into Wednesday, and especially Wednesday night, early Thursday, this low will be even closer to us. It's also going to drag a cold front through Central Texas, helping to provide more of a focus for downpours and storms before this low then pulls away. And then we start talking about warmth and even 70s coming back to Central Texas. On the water vapor imagery and satellite, you could see there that swirling motion helping to drive in the moisture into Central Texas. And right now it's showing itself in the form of clouds and also these very light showers entering Hays, Caldwell, portions of Bastrop County, and now far southern sections of Travis County. And this light rain is moving north, should get to Austin, say about 5:40-ish, give or take a few minutes here. It's going to be super light, but it may just be enough to make the roads a little slick as this moisture continues to come our way from south to north here tonight. There'll be some occasional rounds of wet weather, all very light though. We'll take you through the overnight into tomorrow. I expect more of the same. In fact, the rain coverage tomorrow may be a little higher than what we've seen so far here today. Still cloudy all day long. Don't expect any sun here tomorrow. And not much difference as far as temperatures go. Just these scattered, mostly light showers. Wednesday is an even wetter day, so each day getting wetter than the day before it. Wednesday being the wettest day until early Thursday. You can see the scattered to numerous showers at times during the day. Don't anticipate much in the way of thunderstorms during the day on Wednesday, but as a line of downpours and storms gets going here late Wednesday night in the Hill Country, Things could turn a little bit more concerning because there is the potential for some strong or severe storms to come with this line that will also bring us a widespread soaking rain. Tying it into the metro, we think that the wettest weather in Austin is going to happen now before the sun comes up Thursday. This is 5 a.m. It's going to make for a very wet early commute, but we do think the rain will have cleared our area by the middle of the day with drier weather to come. There's a severe weather threat, though, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, a 2 out of 5 severe weather risk for the hill country. That drops to a 1 out of 5 for most of the metro and our eastern counties. Large hail damaging wind being the primary concern. And then there's a low 1 out of 4 flash flooding threat, generally northwest of Austin from late Wednesday night through Thursday morning. We think 1 to 2 inches of rain is going to be fairly widespread. There'll be some localized amounts outside of this range, even some 3 or 4 inch amounts, but most of us will get 1 to 2 inches, would make it easily the wettest weather we've had this year. So 20% rain chances here tonight. That is up to 40% tomorrow and highs of just the mid-50s. Then much warmer weather comes in Wednesday, 68 for the high. And then after the storms end Thursday morning, the sun comes out. We're up to 70, sunshine and low to mid-70s Friday through Monday of next week. We'll be right back.
News Nation tonight. O'Reilly, Vittert, breaking down President Trump's first week back in the White House. Will his series of executive orders stick? What Americans can expect from the new administration tonight on Balance, starting at 7/6 Central. Then, the Trump administration's bold moves continue with the ouster of more than a dozen inspectors general. One of those fired talks to Dan tonight on Dan Abrams Live, starting at 9/8 Central.
Texas lawmakers filed 2 bills aimed at giving pay raises to state employees as well as cost of living adjustments to retirees. If those bills pass, state retirees would get staggered raises. Employees who retired on or before August 31st of 2014 will get a 7% raise. If they retired after that date, they would get a 4% raise. Meanwhile, current state employees would get a $10,000 raise. This comes after the state's workforce turnover reached a 30-year high in 2022, and government salaries fell behind the market by more than 7%. State Senator Sarah Eckhart of Austin, who helped announce the bills today, spoke on the importance of these potential raises.
So many of the things that help us make ends meet as Texans, so many of the federal programs that the state administers as well as state programs are administered by these employees, whether it's the foster care system, whether it's summer food supports for hungry children. It has far-ranging consequences if we don't get these services out and to Texans on the daily.
According to the state auditor's office, government employee turnover costs Texas about $700 million a year.
Conservationists are using unusual and innovative methods to reintroduce a parrot that went extinct in Argentina 150 years ago, but now is making a comeback in its native forests. So researchers don't want the scarlet macaws to get used to human interaction. So at a facility in Argentina, they are wearing masks and gloves with artificial beaks. Their goal is to mimic how macaws would feed and care for their young. The foundation is working to reintroduce the birds to their natural habitat. Researchers say the scarlet macaw disappeared more than a century ago due to habitat changes and illegal hunting. This reintroduction has been in the works since 2015, but experts say it will be many more decades before their population fully recovers.
Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on KXAN. Starting at 7, it's a special episode of Saturday Night Live, honoring the music over the last 50 years. That's before we're back for KXAN News at 10.